Alright, so I have located all of my college acceptance letters here. So if you are interested in finding out the stats you need to get into Barnard, Duke, Penn, Columbia, Brown, USC, UNC, or UChicago, keep watching this video. Hey everyone, so I'm back with another video in this college application series that I'm doing, and this video is going to be on stats. Every high school student that's applying to a selective school like Penn really wants to know, are my stats good enough to get into the school? Are my grades high enough? Should I retake the SATs? And we're going to answer all of those questions in this video. So if you are on YouTube trying to figure out if your 3.7 is high enough to get into Penn, keep watching this video. So every selective school publishes an SAT range, an ACT range, and a general GPA range that they accept. So I'm going to go over those general ranges first, and then I'm going to tell you guys what my exact scores were. Before I do that, I wanted to plug the last video that I made, which was reading my Common App essay that got me into Penn, Columbia, and Brown and other schools, and then providing tips to you guys on how to best structure your Common App essay. So I'll link that video, and I really recommend reading that or watching that video if one of those schools is your dream school or a highly selective school is one of your dream schools. So for a selective school like Penn, they want to range between 1460 and 1570. So that means that the 25th percentile is 1460, and then the 75th percentile is 1570. So what that really means is that you will be above average if you hit that 1570, and you will be below average if you hit that 1460. So if you are within that range, you're good. Like, your SAT scores are probably not the reason why you would or would not get in. There's other factors that reviewers consider. So spend your time doing other things besides freaking out about your SAT scores. Now, if you are below a 1460, not saying that there's no way to get in, because I do have friends at Penn that got a score below that, but I do recommend taking it again just so that you can be within that percentile and you would have a higher chance of getting in. In considering things like SAT scores, there's a lot of things that admissions counselors take into consideration, like how good your school district is. Do most of the kids there kind of get SAT prep, and they don't expect, if you come from an area where like the average SAT score is like a 1300, for you to then be in a 1570, because there's a lot of information about how kids that have parents that can afford to give them lots and lots of SAT tutoring perform way better. So admissions counselors are cognizant of these things. So don't freak out if you feel like you're in a situation where you're not as advantaged as other applicants. So moving on to ACT scores. I never took the ACT, so I don't know that much about this test, but the average SAT range for a school like Penn is a 32 to a 35. And you also want to be aware that if you're applying to like Penn Engineering, you're going to be held to a higher standard of like the math scores, whether it's the SAT or the ACT, than you will be like the reading section or the verbal section. So just keeping that in mind, that your major actually does matter in how they evaluate your SAT scores, your ACT scores. And then the average GPA to get into a school like Penn is a 3.9. It says specifically that 89% of freshmen at Penn had a high school GPA of 3.75, and then 7% of freshmen at Penn had a high school GPA of 3.5 to 3.75, and then 4% had below a 3.5. So same thing with SAT and ACT scores. Admissions officers are cognizant of your school district and how competitive and how advanced the material is within each school. So if you go to like a really hard school like I did, a 3.8 graduating was like unheard of. Admissions officers are also cognizant of students that take like really easy classes and then get 3.9. So it's really a balance, and I wouldn't freak out too much. Just take the most advanced classes that you can to show the college admissions officers that you like to challenge yourself and do as best as you can in them. I will reveal later that I definitely did not have a 3.9, and I think there were other factors in my application that made the difference for me between not being accepted and being accepted. And so I'm going to share those next. Alright, so now let's get into the stats that everyone actually cares about, which are SATs and GPA. So super scored, I had a 2190, which is now the equivalent of a 1510. My GPA was a 3.6 unweighted. So my school was a college prep school. We had a tool called Naviance, and I remember on Naviance, it would show you like the average GPA needed to get, or the average GPA that all people at our school had that were accepted into like Penn or whatever school that you put into the search bar. And for Penn, it was like unweighted 3.4. I'm just sharing that to say that I don't know if like the GPA from my school is a great indicator of what GPA you would need, because a 3.6 was very competitive for my school, but when I talk to like my friends at Penn, like some of them have like schools that you could take APs and like your GPA would be like a 4.8 or something like that. So I don't know, GPA is kind of weird, but yeah, I had a 3.6 and that was competitive for my school. So for the Common App, I'm looking at my Common App right now, and basically the only stats on my Common App are my intended major, my extracurriculars, my summer activities, and then distinctions. So for my intended major, I mentioned this in a video that I made called 7 Tips to Get You into the Ivy League. I'll link it. But my intended major was Spanish. It talks about how choosing a less popular intended major can be advantageous to you when college admissions officers are reviewing your application. Basically, you should watch that video, which I'll link, but college admissions officers want to create a well-rounded class, so they want to make sure that there's good dispersion of people that are interested in different majors. So by choosing a less popular major, you put yourself into a smaller pool of people to be evaluated against, and that was the strategy that I used and what I think played a role in me getting accepted to a lot of different highly selective schools by choosing Spanish as my major. So yeah, I'm interested, what are you guys thinking about majoring in? Just put it in the comments below. Okay, so moving on, distinctions. So for distinctions, I was a PSAT National Merit Scholar finalist, and I also won the National Spanish Exam gold medal like every year. So I put those down for distinctions. I'm not one of those Ivy League kids that has like 20,000 medals. For extracurriculars in high school, there's only 4 spaces, so I put the 4 most impactful things that I did in high school, which were being a captain of a step dance team, being on student government, being on equity board, being editor-in-chief of my school paper, and then service work that I did tutoring kids. And for the extracurricular section, you really want to put the things that you've done that you've made the most impact in at school and you put the most hours into, and things that you could really speak to, not just like one-off things that you've done before. Okay, so going into summer activities. This is what I think really got me into these schools. I think I had really unique summer activities, really impactful summer activities. So I'm really into going abroad and civic engagement abroad. So I talked about my study abroad in Barcelona and Madrid. I talked about my service trips that I did. In Peru, I was doing agricultural engineering. In Nigeria, I was working in hospitals. And then in Cambodia, I was working in orphanages. So I put all of those down there. The last part are my classes. The classes that I took. I know that it's really important to actually take classes that are challenging for you. and it's better to get like a B or two in classes that are challenging for you than just take easy classes and get all A's, because these schools are actually really competitive and really difficult. So they want to know that you can handle the rigor of the actual school if you were to be accepted. So I have all of my courses that I took throughout high school here. So I'll probably put them up like right here. But in ninth grade, I took English, Spanish, geometry, physics, modern world history, and acting. In 10th grade, I took English, Spanish, accelerated algebra 2/trig, geography, and chemistry. 11th grade, I took African American Lit, American Literary Traditions, Spanish, accelerated pre-calc, U.S. history, AP biology. The way my school worked was that you were only allowed to take APs in 11th and 12th grade. So I took the AP US history exam and got like a 5 on it, even though I took the regular class. I also took the AP English exam, I believe. So in 11th grade year, I had 4s and 5s on APUSH, AP English, and AP Bio. And then in 12th grade, I took banned books in the US, some English elective, writing seminar, another English elective, AP Spanish Lang, AP Calc, AP Chemistry, and then Living Religions of the World, which is like a requirement for us. So my final year of high school, I took 3 AP classes and 3 AP exams. So total in high school, I took 6 APs. I don't know if that's a good gauge of what you should do, because I just know in my school we were only supposed to take like 2 APs a year after 11th grade, and I took 6. So for my school, I looked like I was really trying to challenge myself, which is the image you want to present of yourself to a college admissions officer. So yeah, those are all my stats. Again, there are so many people that have better GPAs than me that I'm sure did not get into the same schools that I got into. So I really recommend, if you have decent grades, like really focus your energy on other things. Really write a comment up that's going to make somebody cry or laugh, or like really believe in you. Focus on your supplements, like research the school so that you really are interested in the schools. But you know, being on YouTube trying to figure out if you're 3.5 versus 3.6 is really gonna like be a make or break for you. It's probably not that serious, not as good as the use of your time as you think it is. So yeah, just perspective, everyone. Yeah. And I hope this video was helpful. Make sure you check out the part 1, I guess, of this video. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.